What was something you did as a child that you wouldn't dare tell your parents about now? I won a school-wide writing competition in middle school by copying the plot of a video game and changing some details. They were really proud of me. My friend does that but with supernatural fanfiction. She just takes the gay stuff out and makes Sam a girl. When I was 6 or so, a friend and I decided to go down to the edge of his grandfather's property and throw rocks at cars passing on the road below. There was a sort of big dirt ledge with a solid fence and then a drop off. The road was maybe 30 feet below. It was heavily forested hillside, so we could hide. He chucked a few unsuccessfully. I picked up a large rock large to my 6-year hands about 2 inches or so, and hucked it at the passing truck below. It was red and white. I couldn't see the driver, though. I heard a loud bang. I had hit either the bed, the roof, or the hood. The brakes screeched, and someone got out. We were crouching, and I started running. I heard the man yell, "Hey, you get back here, you little son of a dong." Those words have stuck with me for almost 30 years. I ran home, got in bed and cried. I was terrified. The man might simply drive up the hill and ask around who had kids. It was a small neighborhood at the time and I'd be found out, but he never did. My parents never found out, and my friend and I haven't ever talked about it. I had never done anything bad before, really, and never did after that either. The fear was enough to teach me a lesson. 3 years ago, some kid threw a rock from atop a hill at my brand new car at 2 AM when I was driving home one night. It dented the bottom of the driver's door a little. I freaking deserved it. You should have jumped out and yelled, "Hey, you get back here, you little son of a dong," and kept the time loop going. In 3rd grade I ran an underground, well, out of my treehouse, so highly above ground, pornography racket to all the neighborhood kids. With a large amount of loose change, I had purchased 6 porno magazines from a 6th grader a few blocks away who stole them from his dad. This was in the mid-90s, so before everyone had easy access to online smut. Word quickly spread that 8-year-old me had an unfathomably large quantity of P for a 3rd grader among other neighborhood kids. I began to charge $1 to look at one of the magazines for 10 minutes, and the neighborhood being full adolescent boys, I began to rake in a healthy profit. The funny thing is that we all recognized that boobs and nudity were awesome and made us feel weird, cool, frisky, but none of us had as of yet figured out masturbation. So I would rent these magazines to my elementary school associates and they would sit in the treehouse and just look at them. I made $40 that summer, which to a 3rd grader might as well have been $1,000. I spent it all on candy at the nearby convenience, even then knowing that my mom would ask where I got money if told her to take me toy shopping. Eventually the pornography was found when a large wind picked up and blew them out of my treehouse, spreading them all over the yard while I was at school, so I was caught with the magazines. But they had no idea that I was turning a profit from their possession. I knew this weird kid in high school. He sold his Adderall at school. I asked him if he made good money doing it. Nope, he said. I make way more money selling CDs with P on them. The one that stands out the most happened when I was about 12. I was trying to learn guitar at the time and my dad kept all his music books in his closet. I was going through trying to find one that interested me when all of a sudden I found this massive stash of Star Trek P. Just loads of magazines, DVDs, etc. riddled with Star Trek P. I couldn't ever tell my dad about it because 1, I wasn't supposed to be going through his stuff, and 2, that's just way too embarrassing of a conversation to have. Warp factor awkward. Destination: Planet Dad Wank. Found a dead bird outside. Picked it up and threw it like a frag grenade into a crowd of people in my school. Frag bird out. I found my dad's condoms when I was a kid. When he went through his midlife crisis, he became super Catholic, which is fine, but we would both be really embarrassed if I decided to bring that up. Unrelated note, one time, my parents were giving me and my brothers the talk, which included stern warnings about premarital freaking. My mom hinted that she and dad did it before they were married, and my dad glared at her. Crap was awkward. Was pretty restricted in my computer usage when I was younger, but I would always sneak on. My parents could always tell because the computer was warm after I used it. One day I decided to counter this by shoving the laptop in the freezer to cool it down before my parents checked. The next day the laptop screen was messed up and the computer didn't work. It was also a company laptop, so yeah. It was also a company laptop. A victimless crime then. Hooray. Pre-context. When I was 14-15 I would go with my friend to visit his uncle who would let us drive his car around a field and through the town on a quiet day. We went there one day and found him having a stroke on the kitchen floor and were panicking too much to have the common sense to phone an ambulance. What I wouldn't tell my parents. We jumped in his car and I drove us to the hospital, which involved driving on several heavily populated country roads and motorways. Take your goddamn credit, man. You did awesome. I used to pee on the kitchen floor and blame the dog. I was playing hide and seek with my sister and decided it'd be a great idea to hide under a van that was parked in our yard. I don't know how I didn't notice, but suddenly the engine started and it got kinda hot and I realized my mom was getting ready to drive off. As soon as I rolled out from underneath, she backed up and started turning around to leave the neighborhood. I yelled after her for a second, but then I realized that my mom is the kind of person who would have a panic attack for the rest of her life if she knew what had just happened. So I never said anything about it. But yeah, guess I almost got squished by my own mom. My parents suspected I was using drugs in high school and would routinely search my room, so I started hiding them in their bedroom. They never found them. I dropped my baby brother on his head when I was 11 and he was like 7 months old. He fell off my bed head first. Thing is, I saw it happen but I didn't stop it. I don't know why, but I watched as he slowly slid off the bed and hit the ground. I picked him up and told them. He started crying for no reason. They never questioned me about it. Don't worry about it. Little kids are tough as heck by design. When I was around 13, my parents decided to buy a house and restore the basement section. At that point they were redoing the floors in the basement. I hatched a scheme to wire my room with direct line to the special cable box my parents kept in the downstairs living room. At midnight the night before they started putting in the flooring and some of the sheetrock in, I rode my bike to the new house and got to work. I ran a coaxial cable from my bedroom, which I concealed using a false wall in my closet I had installed earlier, through to where the cable box was located. I used a splitter to redirect the signal to the TV I hid in my closet. I then spent the rest of the evening ensuring that this cable was either hidden from the contractors or among other cables to not raise suspicion. After my cable splitter was covered by the wall flooring and I moved in, the second phase of my project began. I rigged a system that extended my ability to use a small universal remote I had planted in the living room, in a light fixture. So began the golden age of unlimited access to all of the unsavory channels my parents tried so hard to keep me from watching. I was a junior in high school and I lit a piece of paper on fire and threw it in the garbage can at school and then walked away. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. Later, some kids told me that the flaming garbage can was found by our vice principal. He grabbed the plastic can by the handle and ran outside and threw it on the lawn. There was melted plastic all the way down the hall and the carpet. Several weeks after the incident, they would announce over the PA system that there was a cash reward for any information leading to the capture of the garbage can bandit. Surprisingly, no one ever turned me in. The funny part was, my mom was a substitute teacher at the same school. One of my good buddies was in her class. Whenever they would make that announcement over the PA, she would make some comment like, "Some people's kids," and would shake her head. I don't think I'll ever share that story with my mom about her arsonist. That pun at the end makes me question the validity of this post. DM. SC. The amount of drinking. I stayed up until all hours of the night watching the softcore P on Cinemax. Then fapped like crazy. This was back in the day, before internet P. I slowly drank a bottle of vodka from my parents' liquor cabinet and replaced it with water. Later, when my parents quit drinking, they threw it out, winning. Dang, we've ingested so much alcohol. Vodka tastes like water. Guess now is a good time to quit. When I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, the bike rack in our garage fell on top of my dad's 50s VW Beetle that he'd had forever and really dented up the hood and roof. I remember I was reading some picture book about firemen or some crap on my bed when he comes storming into my room in a fit of rage. To this day my dad still scares the crap out of me and demanded I tell him if I did it or knew about it. For some unknown reason I confessed even though I was never in the garage and he flipped a crap on me. I said I was kicking a ball in the garage and it hit it and started to wobble then fell over on the car. To this day he still thinks I trashed his beloved Beetle and brings it up every once in a while when we work on it or drive it. I've never told him I didn't do it because I'm sure he wouldn't believe me. Pretty dumb. TLDR. Bike rack fell on my dad's 50s VW Beetle and wrecks it. I confessed to a crime I didn't commit for some unknown reason. 20 years later he still believes it was me. Please tell him so I can hear what his reaction was. I cheated on my grade 2 spelling test. There I said IT. Must be nice to get that one off of your chest. In the 5th grade, I walked very slowly back to class after being dropped off from a doctor's appointment, so that I wouldn't have to participate in the spelling bee. At night I'd steal all the snacks I was supposed to get for recess the next day. Jelly beans, brownies, cupcakes, Twinkies, chips. I stole it all, baby. Slow down there, Satan. Senior year in high school, my girlfriend lived in walking distance to my house. It was a long walk, about 20 minutes or so, but doable. We took separate buses home, but my mum, parents divorced at that point, and her parents didn't come home until about an hour or so after we would get dropped off at our homes. So, I started taking her bus to her house. We would mess around and do pretty much everything that two teenagers want to do together but shouldn't. This would go on for 20 minutes or so and then I would leave her house, cut through the nearby cemetery to avoid the nearby roads her parents might be coming home on, and head to my home. I would get home just before my mom did and no one was the wiser. For the most part, there was the one time when her father came home early. We panicked. She told me to head up into her room while she distracts her dad. I rushed up the stairs, climbed out her window onto the roof, and ended up jumping down and running to the cemetery. We didn't get caught and the delinquency continued. Never had a close call like that one again. Hep, good times. I'm telling mom. Boldly told my kindergarten teacher to not talk back to me after she yelled at me for talking back to her. I also refused to take my resulting time out. I had a similar situation in 7th grade history class. I tried to correct the teacher on her dates but she wouldn't have any of it. In the bright side, everyone in the family knows and loves to remind me of it every year or two. BTW, I'm 26 now, and enjoying my BA in history. When I was around 5ish I found some sort of pill on the floor. I had no idea what it was but figured I would eat it. So I open it up and as I bring it to my mouth my 4-year-old sister pops in the room. She asks if she can have some candy too. So I break the pill in half and give her a piece. So as I put it in my mouth I am met with the most disgusting taste, imagine chalk, and end up spitting it out. My sister eats her half and goes about her day. A year later she dies a day after my dad's birthday. Now I know this is going to sound silly but at the time I connected my sister eating that pill to her getting cancer. And for years I couldn't eat pills. I also blamed myself for her death. It wasn't until high school that I began to let it go. Also was old enough to figure out pills don't cause cancer. Of course I have never told my dad this because it would only bring back bad memories for us. When I was in school our report card was a cardboard form that grades were handwritten on and then it was sent home each 6 weeks to get signed by parents and then returned to school until the next 6-week period. I managed to get my hands on a blank form from my homeroom teacher's desk and duplicated my report card. From that point on I kept 2 sets of books. The report card my parents saw had slightly better grades than the one the school saw. It wasn't major. A few D's became C's. Most of my grades were fine. It just kept me from being grounded or lectured to a few times. Me and my best friend did something similar in 8th grade. We would use her mom's scanner to get the report card on her computer. Then, we would use Windows Paint to copy the A's and B's and paste them over any bad grades. That I was basically a petty criminal as a teen, and so much fricking in her house. I think she was suspicious about the fricking but to this day she doesn't know about the stealing and breaking and entering because I didn't get caught. I wasn't friends with Kelly. That was just a name to toss out when I wanted to spend the night with a boy. I want Kelly's mom's number. I was a very rebellious and sneaky teenager. When I was 16, I started dating my first high school boyfriend. It was a long distance relationship and he was a senior. I was a junior. He was 19 and he chewed tobacco. His mom found out and kicked him out of their house. So I told him he could live with me. This was summertime, so he would come over at about 8 PM after he got off work and I would sneak him up to my bedroom. We'd sleep together and at 5 in the morning he would leave for work again. Quietly. My parents' bedroom was in the basement and mine was in the attic. They never bothered to go into my bedroom. We did that for 4 months until my parents told me we were moving to a smaller house. Every weekend I'd beg to get to hang out with him and pretend I hadn't seen him and my parents would agree. So he would sneak out and pretend he had just drove in from out of town when he arrived. I could never tell my parents. They hated that boyfriend as it was. Can't imagine them knowing he lived with us. You were sneaky. I plagiarized a poem in 6th grade for a project. It was very well received and I had to read it at an Earth Day assembly. My dad printed it out on some fancy paper and still has it up on a wall frame to this day. I emailed a guy in my class. He was a loner. Didn't really have any friends but spent a lot of time talking to the teachers. I think we were in about 6th or 7th grade at the time. My email basically called him a F a ton of times and insinuated he was sucking off some of the teachers to get better grades since I was pretty certain there was nothing in his head. The email made it to the principal, but it didn't have my name on it. They thought it was me for a second but I insisted that it wasn't. Everyone in the grade heard about it. I just feel so bad. It's been 15 years but it still tears me up inside. How I could do something like that. Something so insensitive. I wasn't a bully in school, or I like to think I wasn't, but this was the time where I felt like I was, and it made me feel horrible. The worst part was I never got to apologize to him, let him know that I was a dumb kid who didn't know any better. I don't have his contact information, let alone remember his name. I bet he is lying on his couch with lipstick on right now. Your name is on his list. I would give him a call and apologize. The sooner the better. I used my mom's vibrating leg razor as a celeb in her bed. Also had fricked on their bed more than once. When they were gone, I'd sleep in their bed naked. They have a Tempur-Pedic mattress and silk sheets, okay? I think there's something Freudian in there somewhere. I used to steal the booby page of the newspaper and masturbate over it. I was a frisky child. I remember this clearly even though I was young. I think 4-5, pre-kindergarten. Popped a wood while I was getting a bath and I asked my mom what this meant. She said I was practicing to make a baby, which technically is true. Later on, another bath and my mom left the room to talk to her friend in the other room, on the phone, while I was playing with my rubber ducky. Loved my ducky. All of a sudden a strange hardening of the south region occurred again and I yelled proudly, "Mom, hurry. Come look, I'm having a baby." I've not told my mom about my boner since then. To my recollection at least, but it is hilarious looking back. TLDR bath boner blush. Reed popped has pooped and was pleasantly surprised. I used to set fires in the house without my parents knowing. I never believed that bull's Santa Claus story. Oh, trust me, it would definitely break my mom's heart. When I was 14-15 I would sneak out most nights, steal my mom's car for a few hours, and drive over to my GF's house to frick. I did it probably 100 times and never once did she suspect a thing. She knew. The party ended ages ago and it's just the girls left. We're about to go to bed now. Can I stay over my cover line for when I was about to get me some mail? Was a preteen and was curious what it was like to wear a diaper. Stole a pull-up and put it on. Found it oddly very comfortable. Wondered what it would be like to pee in it. So I did. Wondered what it would be like to poo in it. So I did. Felt frisky. So I did. And a fetish was born. Hey mom, remember when I was 17 and made you drive me to my ADD doctor's appointment? I was on mushrooms. And yes, I have ADD. I think I've fessed up to just about everything I did when I was younger. I think the only thing my parents were really annoyed about is when I told them about the high-speed chase when a sheriff caught me driving an ATV down the road and started chasing me with lights and sirens. Then when I took off across some farm fields, he followed me in his car, which I was not expecting. In the middle of one of my 10-year-old tantrums, I threw a chair at my bedroom wall. It made a fire hole, so bought a Nirvana poster just to cover it. After 8 years it's still there and I don't even like Nirvana. Shawshank Redemption. When I was 14-15 my parents went away for the weekend and I had only one chore: cut the lawn. It was a huge property, about a half-acre. Push mower. I procrastinated all weekend and about 2 hours before they came home, instead of just starting to cut it, then I got a pair of scissors and cut the pull start and told them that it broke when I tried to start it, lol. I would pray to the mower gods that my mower would break when going to do the lawn. It was always hot as tea in Texas, 100F. Never thought to do that though. Dang younger me. One day while at Kmart, I was walking down the baseball card aisle where I came across the packs that have the gum inside. Seeing as how we were poor, I decided to open up about 20 packs or so and make a bigger gumball as possible. When my parents were gone, I would go into their room and look around. The things I found. Some things cannot be unseen, but now I know where I get it from. Go on. My parents are still together, but my dad still doesn't know I hit a car at 16. He also doesn't know that at age 14 my mom had to pick me up from the police station at like 3 AM because I was trying to go to Florida with a stranger. If he found out, he would for sure kill my mom. What do your parents being together still have to do with either of those stories? Just wondering. I kicked my brother down the stairs when he was 1 and could barely talk. He came back up and punched me. Well, as far as punching at 1 year of age goes, and my mom only saw the part where he punched me and punished him. Had webcam freaking with hundreds of middle-aged men in our sitting room, very late at night. I was underage at the time. Oh geez. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.